Put that coffee down.
I'm not here to waste your time, okay? I certainly hope you're not here to waste mine. So I'm gonna keep this short.
Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
The most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
Coffee's for closers only.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Behind Your Back podcast with me, Bradley Hartman, founder and CEO of the Behind Your Back Sales Company. Our mission is to help you sell more, faster, at higher margins, and have more fun selling in the construction industry. As for this podcast, we talk about leadership, personal productivity, time management, and the craft of selling in the construction industry. Now, I'm excited to share my conversation with you today with Mr. Patrick Warren and Megan Bittle. Now, in October, I was thrilled to present 2 miniature workshops for the FEI Group and their annual convention. FEI is the nation's largest and finest network of interior and exterior finish contractors and interior finish showrooms. And their event was held in North Scottsdale at an absolutely fantastic venue, and the whole thing was so well run. And while there, we wanted to get some context for what is happening in this sector of the construction industry. So I thought it'd be helpful if we got a manufacturer involved, as well as a retail showroom and an installer to help us walk through the different dimensions on how it's affecting the space. Now, Daltile stepped up to the plate immediately with not only the talent and the insights that you will hear from Mr. Patrick Warren, but also sponsorship for this episode. Now, if you listen to this podcast, you surely know Daltile, but Daltile is the country's leading manufacturer and distributor of ceramic tile, porcelain tile, and natural stone. Built on a tradition of outstanding design, quality, and service, for 74 years, Daltile has set the standard for the tile industry. Committed to providing trustworthy floor, wall tile, and countertops. And here, this is especially important given all the supply chain issues that we're having. Daltile is proudly made in the USA. Now, as you'll hear, Patrick Warren is a wealth of knowledge. He is the vice president at Daltile of residential sales, dealer, and showrooms. Before joining Daltile, he worked at Emser, Mohawk, and other reputable brands that I worked extensively with and bought from while at Pulte. Patrick earned his undergrad at Hartwick College. Never heard of that. It's in Oneonta, New York, home of the mascot? Yeah, the Hawks. The Hartwick Hawks. There you go. And he earned his MBA at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Joining Mr. Patrick Warren is Megan Bittle. She's the president and CEO of RSI Kitchen and Bath in St. Louis. Megan attended undergrad at Santa Clara University and got her MBA at Golden Gate University. Now, Megan is the 3rd generation leader at RSI, and over the last 7 decades, they have transformed their family business from its modest start into the largest kitchen and bath design center in the St. Louis area. And just like Patrick, as you'll hear, Megan Bittle is smart and she's funny, and this combination really was helpful for me to understand some of the unique dynamics that are affecting their portion of the construction industry. So once again, thank you to Daltile for sponsoring this episode. And without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Mr. Patrick Warren and Megan Bittle. So Megan Bittle, Patrick Warren, welcome to the show.
Thank you
Thanks
for having us.
Really great to be here.
Yeah, welcome to North Scottsdale. We're here at the JW Marriott for the FEI Group's big national convention. And so far, I've been absolutely blown away by everything we've seen so far to kick this off. And I'm thrilled you guys made time for this. We have drinks in front of us, so you're still kind of working, but not entirely. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys. And I think maybe, Megan, our jumping off point here, I know everyone has really been challenged with talent and how do we retain those folks? And in your business, recreating a really unique, special experience takes a lot of expertise and time. What have you done to keep the best people on your team during such kind of unique times we've had over the last couple of years?
Yeah, you're right. It's been a big challenge for everyone in the industry and multiple industries. And I think that going through COVID and shutdown and everything kind of got thrown up in the air and the way we did business completely changed. And we've discovered that the way we always did business or how we demanded certain schedules of people, right? You have to be here from 9 to 6. You have to be open late because customers want to come in. That all went out the window, and we got a clean slate to reevaluate what really worked best for our team members and in turn what worked best for our clientele. And so we made some changes early on after reopening from the pandemic and decided that allowing designers much more flexibility in their schedule, allowing them to come in when they needed to for an appointment and not demanding that they were there. Now, we still needed appropriate coverage on our showroom floors, but you didn't need 6 people working at a desk every day. If they wanted to work from home and they wanted more flexibility, that made a huge impact on people's life satisfaction.
Yeah. Just curious, had this topic come up before? Because I think there's a lot of things where we were able to challenge these assumptions, but there wasn't the business life imperative that made it available to us.
Yes, absolutely. It came up, the idea of remote work, right? And I was even guilty of it. Oh, that would be wonderful, but oh, that would never work. That's not possible. Our clientele doesn't work that way. And when we were forced to try it, we realized it did work. And we actually have a colleague who relocated out. We actually have a couple colleagues who relocated out of state during the pandemic, have not returned, do their job completely remotely, and it works perfectly. And if these people had asked, would this be a possibility a couple years ago? I would have said, oh, I don't think that would work.
For a whole bunch of reasons. Yeah. And Patrick, obviously at Daltile, you have, correct me if I'm butchering any of these numbers, 275 facilities, you got 80 showrooms, you got kind of 20 really high-end studios for that unique experience.
Yep.
You are really facing a lot of these same issues. Love to hear your take on that.
It's interesting, same exact issues. And, we went through a period of time from, March of 2020 until really May, June, when it was just, we didn't know. It was almost hour by hour. What was going to happen with COVID? What did the business look like? Was the business going to exist going forward? And that fear factor with our employees, we tried to really calm those nerves. We didn't know how to calm them. We just tried to navigate through that. But what we found on the other side of it, and then going forward, and Megan, you probably found the same thing, is you have we went to for appointment only for quite a while.
Okay.
And we've kind of loosened that just a little bit as everyone else has loosened up a little bit. But we would go for 45-minute appointments just to select tile. And we found that everybody's coming in, they know they have a beginning and a stopping point, and they are purposeful. They're educated. There's more information available to the consumers every day than ever before.
For sure.
But we found that they're much more purposeful, and they're prepared to make a decision and then go to our partners in the marketplace to make their selection. So I think we're actually doing business better and more efficiently. Now, keeping the people and keeping them happy on our team, it's a challenge. It's an interesting, the last 2 years have been very interesting. And, I think we've navigated through that.
Yeah, well, I'm curious if you could speak a little bit to the supply chain issues that I think have affected literally every part of our business. However, I think you guys have a real differentiator. You're unique in the fact that Daltile is made in America. Go into that a little bit.
That's correct. We're proudly in our 74th year of business, which is really fantastic.
For sure.
And now, in fairness, we're not 100% made in America. We have some of our Marazzi Italian facilities that bring in some product. Obviously, some products like mosaics and certain wall tiles, you just have to get overseas. It's just how it works. And certainly natural stone. But we have many facilities in the U.S. that it's all made in America, and we want to drive that home. And we don't have there's no container issues with our floor tile. And we want to make sure that we put that out there. So a little bit of a shameless plug, but it was good to do that.
That was all part of this, yes. But I think that idea, though, is never before has our industry been this knowledgeable about supply chain, right? All of a sudden, whether you're a plumber or you're a roofer or anywhere else in here, all of a sudden, everyone's gotten a little more knowledgeable about how our business really gets material, and obviously labor too, but material gets around. And yet, when I heard that, I kind of sat back and I'm like, I'm not sure I totally knew that. So again, I think as you think about branding, you think about the message that we're sending, whether events like this with the FEI Group or just in the market in general, there's so much noise, there's so much misinformation along with everything else. I think you do have to hammer those home. So no, I 100% needed that shameless plug. So I'm glad we did that. One thing back in former Pulte days when I was purchasing, the one thing that jumped out to me immediately when it came to floor covering, tile specifically, was the sheer selection, the sheer amount of products that were out there, completely baffled me. And when we started talking about this, Patrick, the other day with Dan and then Megan, the thing that kept on popping in my mind is this tyranny of choice. There's just so many options. Megan, how do you guys handle that, and from a design perspective, and how do you think about that to kind of curate a smaller amount so someone can make a decision and we can move forward?
And it's happening in every product category.
It is.
Tile is an extreme of it, but even in the cabinetry world, when 25 years ago you had 3 or 4 choices and the product was sitting on a shelf somewhere in the United States, you could get it easily. And then we all moved to just-in-time inventory and choices came about, and it's too much. It's extreme. And I always remember there was a really famous study. It had to do with tasting jams.
Yes.
Remember, this study?
I do, yeah.
And our consumers are not better served by having 100 choices. It's too much. They can't make a decision. Even when they make a decision, they worry that their decision wasn't the right choice. So showrooms who have scaled back the product offering have done better.
They have, okay.
And we have tried to adjust in our showrooms to display what we think people are interested in, a few options that are really exciting and different, and the rest of it goes in a closet. So we always have what's available if you're looking for something unique, or that's what a designer's for, right? To go back and pull.
Sure. Yeah.
To make sure designers pre-select materials for that second appointment. So when you're not flipping through door racks or tile racks randomly, it's not an enjoyable experience for consumers. And I don't know, Patrick, what do you think? Will the industry change? Will selections be minimized, or no, we're stuck with this?
Great question. In fairness, Daltile is probably over-skewed. There's no question. We have too much product. And, we serve really 3 core, we read our business 3 ways: commercial business, new residential, and residential remodel. Commercial is very SKU intensive because they always want something that if it's not on the floor, they're going to find it. That's just how they are. But we've found that we've worked on curated packages, theme books, focus things down. All that is a Band-Aid though, really, we need to just make less product. But I can tell you on a personal level, during COVID, I did what everybody else did, is we looked at our kitchen, we looked at our 3 bathrooms, we said, all right, let's do this.
Right.
And my wife decided to do it in April, which was not a good logistics time, by the way. I mean, she had to reselect 4 times, and she kept looking at me, and I said, don't be that customer, be a Daltile spouse. This is going to be okay. We're going to get through it. But right. I just had our design team help her. There's so much product, and it's really, candidly, there's the labor challenges we have, there's logistics challenges. Labor is obviously the biggest challenge we all have, but how do we figure out how to I love the fact that you're going less in your showroom. And by the way, that's very difficult to do because someone's going to say, we need this color tile or this shape. But the reality is we've got less is better, and you can be more successful and have better performance in your design services by having less product.
So Patrick, is the reason that we continue to kind of over skew, and obviously it's not just Daltile, is it because we're segmenting those down into commercial, new residential, and remodel, and then obviously there's trends and we want to just be part of it, and obviously you guys are manufacturers. This is what we do. You do it really well. Is that the underlying need or continuation of this? Or is it more?
It's like a big machine. There's so much product and so much demand, and we want to be on the front. Maybe not the front. We want to always be pushing the design limits. So we're always coming up with new products.
Right.
We joke. We say we need to. If we're going to add 12 products, we need to drop 14 or 15. But sometimes we're adding 12 or dropping 2. We're not helping ourselves, and we'll kid ourselves and try to come up with a way that it makes sense. But we just need to curate it more. We have the design capabilities in our industry, not just tile, are unbelievable. I mean, color, the technology to manufacture them is what it's done in even just 5 years is unbelievable. I mean, the quality is fantastic. So what the consumer, the end user, the selector is actually getting has never been better. We just need to make that. We have to work very hard. And it sounds like Megan, and I can't wait to see your showrooms, has really figured out a way to have that process be smoother, which is fantastic.
I think of it as a woman. I think of when you go to a nice boutique shop and their clothes are well displayed and easy to find, and there may be more sizes available, but they're in the back. Or when I go to Marshall's and it's racks and racks crammed together that I have to sort through. And our clientele, they want us to do that work for them, and that those packed racks at Marshall's are just stressful. and overwhelming.
Agreed. Totally agree.
And some showrooms look like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good analogy. And in my simple mind, sometimes I need an analogy or metaphor of like, you know what it's like to go to a Marshall's or a TJ Maxx. I'm like, yeah, that's where I go for my kids' stuff that they tear through or they use for a week, right? You're right. There's no curation there. The experience is pile it high, pile it on a pallet, dig through it. For me anyway, that really resonates. I'm curious, when it comes to technology and innovation, and kind of, Megan, you touched on a little bit that you're experiencing with your team where someone's working remotely, still servicing customers in a very high-tech way. What sort of technology is out there, or maybe is an emergent technology that you think is really going to impact the experience and the value you can bring customers? Patrick, why don't I kick over to you first?
You know, you're talking on the selection piece. You know, for us, on what we're spending a lot of our time on, and part of that SKU selection process is we want to focus on technology that we can do as a manufacturer, Daltile can do, that can bring solutions. You know, as an example, we have a product that we launched called Tile, which helps. It's a do-it-yourself or an installed product, floating floor with a real full-gauge porcelain tile. So that was designed to help with the labor crisis. Second one I'd like to talk about is, you know, we have a product called Stepwise. You can't see it, you can't feel it, but it's 50% more slip resistant embedded in the manufacturing process. Typically, when you put something on, it'll be scratchy,
right,
have a rough feel. So we have Stepwise is a fantastic product and something we developed. And then the third is Defend with Microban. What a better time to launch a product with Microban. I think two equal products. Some people are going to want a product that eliminates 99% of the bacteria, mildew, and moldy growth. And so we're focusing on that technology to really bring solutions long-term to the consumer, whoever that is, whether it's a builder, a developer, a consumer, or a homeowner. So we're focused on that. On the design side, you know, the technology and how people can select even remotely is something that we're looking at. Visualizers are unbelievable, but you still can't get away from that showroom experience of touching the product, seeing it in a vignette, like in your kitchen and bath showroom, and what it actually will look like in their home when they do it.
But I think those can complement each other. So VR technology is very helpful for consumers to be able to visualize their own space. But at the same time, even when the pandemic happened, I think we all thought, oh, all appointments are going to go remotely. We have to have showrooms set up to accommodate a virtual selection. And the reality is, once showrooms opened, people came back. They need to touch and feel these products. Mm-hmm. Color does not translate online the way it needs to. However, having technology that will complement that is important. So it's not uncommon now where we might meet with a client 5, 6, 7 times during the design phase. Those might not all be in the showroom. Some of those might be quick, hop on a Zoom call, get some stuff knocked out. One of the members of the couple will be at work and just needs to hop on Zoom to participate in the budget discussion, and then they're gone, and the other person's in the showroom when we're picking out faucets. So being flexible with technology is important.
Agreed.
I can only imagine the time savings collectively, if you think about that, and we were kind of part of that with my wife and I, where, hey, I want to be part of the budget, but after that, we've narrowed to 3. I literally do not care what happens now. Whatever ends up on the floor in the boys' bathroom upstairs, I don't care. But I don't have to leave work. I don't have to drive there. She doesn't go there. You guys don't have to set up, right? So I think adding this new capability of Zoom, not all the time, but just sometimes for these, I can only imagine has collectively saved just a ton of time.
You have to act like you care.
Yes. Yes.
Ladies listening, when he says I don't care, he means I truly don't care.
He does not represent all the men. Please help me here.
That's why this is not it would be helpful. This is shame on my face. Totally called me out, Patrick. You're right. That's what she said too. You know, Bradley, you could just pretend to care. I'm like, I know, baby. I love you. We're going to get through this.
Like the honesty.
Speaking of my wife and something we went through, are you familiar with this platform? I'm sure there's a whole bunch of them now. It's called Modsy, Modsy.
Yes.
Okay. So my wife, like many of us, we started looking at our houses. We were spending all our time in it. And we moved from Chicago to Dallas 5 years ago. And whatever furniture we had, largely, that went from this other space that was totally different. And we just shoved it in this new one. And we're like, at some point, we'll figure it out. Anyway, long story short, she says, hey, there's this platform called Modsy. They have these designers from around the country who contribute their time. They're available to meet with us. And they will do as unlimited number of designs until we find something they like. And then, obviously, I think that's like the loss leader. I think we paid like $150, under 200. And she met with them live, did a Zoom, took photos of our place. Anyway, long story short, They then put a design. We said we'd love that. And they said, hey, you're going to pay a little bit more for it. But if you buy through us, that's how we really make our money. But at the end of the day, we want your process to be wonderful, and we want you to refer us. It was absolutely amazing. I do not believe we ended up choosing any of their furniture, but we basically matched their vision, and the whole process I was really impressed with. So I don't want to dominate this with our story here, but my thought on this Modsy is just got to thinking about, are there different elements that you see in that where we're able to kind of pull talent from different parts of the country to serve a new customer and generate some new revenue and potentially, make some money with other partners, where obviously it's not like Modsy's not buying thousands of pallets of Daltile.
Correct.
But anyway, just kind of loved your thoughts on that. If you guys have thought about that or any experience with it or anything you guys are working on similar to that.
I think what you said, what Megan said, I think it complements the overall process. I think there's some people that are going to feel comfortable with shopping that way and selecting that way and designing that way. And that's fantastic, especially if somebody that couldn't do it before or maybe is remote and can't get to a showroom in your showroom in St. Louis area. But I think it just, as long as we can help make that process smoother and get more people to select remodeling projects, look, I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when you started to see the ability to design a kitchen online, which was really not online, it's over the phone. That's the reality of what you do. And there was a lot of talk of, would that be a threat to our segment of the design industry? And the reality was, and I think what you'll find with Modsy is the people who are going to use Modsy would never have hired a local interior designer to run around town and source products
100%.
and do design. So it offers design services to people who are struggling to do it themselves. And that's wonderful because that just creates a bigger awareness of your living room was ugly and you needed some help, right?
Totally agree.
It's the same way Home Depot and all the design shows on TV helped the kitchen and bath industry.
Right.
But it also says that there is a consumer out there, and particularly a younger consumer, that is perfectly comfortable with an online communication. So if you are a brick and mortar showroom or an interior designer, understand that you need to be able to adapt and function in an online space with your clients when they need it, because that's what they expect and that's what they're perfectly comfortable with.
Yeah. No, it's really well said. And Megan, as you were talking, I wrote down kind of growing the pie. And I think when they do this well, there's going to be a certain percentage of the people that were kind of not, they weren't really in, they weren't out. And then this got them thinking about this. And then they said, you know what, this path we've chosen isn't for me. RSI is right down the street. Let's maybe go check that out. Right. I think it's going to grow the pie and get more people in there and deliver more value in a way that maybe they hadn't initially thought of. And yeah, I love that.
It'll be interesting to see, though, like you said, your personal experience was you didn't really buy many of the materials that they suggested. So how is I just wonder in the long run, will that business model pan out? Will people buy the products they're sourcing? Yeah,
no, it's a great question. So I'm watching the time, and again, I really appreciate you guys making time here. There's a lot of fun. I know you guys know a ton of people that are here and have other things to do. The opening session that we just got out of really started about, and there was a lot of discussion about Dave Giesling, who passed. I never met him. I started talking to the FEI Group, I think maybe a week or several weeks or several months after his passing. Had heard a lot about him, but then sitting through this memorial and seeing videos and hearing his voice like you guys, I think it touched me, and I never knew the man. But one of the tasks that they asked us here, in addition to, I believe, add one more thing. I remember there's 4. Number 4 was party. I think we're going to check the box on that. Wanted to network, meet some new people, find one thing to work on. The other thing was to share a leadership lesson or some way that Dave modeled how leaders, or we can be better people to each other. So for someone who doesn't know him, I thought this would be a great way to kind of close out. Patrick, I'm going to start with you. Any story about Dave or anything that you'd like to share that you think, hey, if you never met Dave, you missed out? But this is something you should know.
Yeah, love to. I actually knew Dave before he started Expo, 25 years or so now.
Okay.
And it's interesting. Most of my career, I was on more of the dealer residential side of the business. And every show, typically, let's say a CCA Global Convention where he would be attending, if he was at a show, it would always surprise me because he would find me at the show as if he was walking past hundreds of people to come say hello to Patrick. And, you get that, they talked about it in the session, you get that big hug, and you end up spending 10 or 15 minutes talking about something that didn't have anything to do with flooring or what your career was or anything like that, but you got a little closer to Dave, and he had a way of making you, and they mentioned it, making you feel like you were the only person in the universe for those 10 or 15 minutes. And I try to do it, and I think of him when I do it. It's interesting, and he's one of the best.
I think on one hand, some people are more naturally disposed to be doing that, right? It's kind of a gift they have. On the other hand, it's being present in the moment with the people that you are at and doing literally, and they talked about it kind of being one-to-one. So I wouldn't want some people to hear that and be like, oh God, he's just a natural sales guy. No, I think you can be intentional. I think anyone can do that. And making other people special, I think is really important.
Yep.
And something that's worth striving for. So Patrick, I appreciate that. Megan?
Oh, this is easy. I was a big fan of Dave, as I think everybody was. So a couple things about Dave. We would have these conference calls, and Dave wouldn't say too much on them. He'd be listening in the background, but Dave would always end the call. And he had a way of, we were talking about very granular topics, and he would summarize the end of the call with something about life that really mattered. And it wasn't to say that Dave was, he was a very smart businessman. That was there. But he had a way of right-setting all of us to send us on our way. But my favorite Dave story was a couple years ago at conference. We checked into the hotel, and our room was horrible. I mean, it was the worst hotel room I think I'd ever stayed in. And I went up to the check-in desk, to the FEI table, and I'm just full-on Karen, right? I'm just a jerk and complaining about my room, and this is unacceptable, and blah blah blah. And poor Janine said, we'll do our best, but I don't know what we can do. And we go into the opening session, and Dave gets up there in true Dave form, and he gives a 40-minute talk about attitude of gratitude. And I could not sink small enough into my chair. So,
next flight home.
Yes, and that was Dave, right? Dave just knew he always had the right way to just level set you. So at the end of the opening session, I went up to him and I said, so great to see you. Big hugs. I am such an asshole.
That's the best story.
And I told him what I had done. And of course, it was Dave. We gave it, you're allowed to be human. It's okay. And a hotel room's important. I'm like, it's not important, Dave. And thank you so much for letting me know. So maybe a week later, and then I had to go apologize to Janine. And a week later, in the mail arrives the medallion with the I call it the cross, but the plus sign on it, which is all about positivity. Mm-hmm. And it has sat on my desk for several years now. And of course, it's even more meaningful now that Dave's not with us. But it's nice to have something of Dave to know what is important every day.
That's a great story.
Well, if we can close out, I want to make sure I ask Dave, on my seat that I sat in, somebody had snagged the coin. I want one of those. Would you mind?
I have a second one. I'll give it to you.
We'll get you one.
That would make me very happy.
Patrick, maybe describe quickly what that is. What is it?
What, the coin?
The coins, yeah.
For me, it's a reminder of, you have it in your pocket, you have it on your desk like Megan does. For me, it just reminds you of the things that Dave stood for, that he wants us to stand for. Mm-hmm. And there's a long list there, but everybody can pull their 2 or 3 things of Dave-isms, if you will, that will make you a better person. And for me, it's to be present when I'm talking to somebody. I mean, that's, and if I can mention my story, I mean, it's something that he did and you thought, wow, that's really great. I'm going to be like that. So that's what the coin reminds me of.
So for those of you who don't know, Dave carried this. It's a medallion. It's a metal medallion. It's the size of a silver dollar, but the interior of it is carved out in the sign of a plus sign, a cross, if you will. And it symbolizes positivity. Yeah.
Well, and one of the speakers, Graham, I think, it literally held it up and looked through it. And is it a little bit cheesy? It is. I'm a little bit cheesy myself. I like this, but the idea of you can literally look through from your perspective and view this in a positive way. I love that. And when he talked about, I think Graham talked about giving it to his own children, I thought that's the same thing. Talk to my kids all the time about, hey, things happen. A lot of bad things happen. A lot of good things happen. But hey, how do we react to it? How do we think about it? How do we maintain positivity? And I think as leaders, there's an endless supply of things that we can complain about. Yet, I mean, look where we are here. You know, we're in an amazing space. We're back together, and that's how we get through this. So,
and our team takes those cues from us, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
No matter what we think inside, and faking it doesn't work. So I think that was Dave's point. If you truly believe this every day and you can wake up and find that silver lining and that positivity, it's contagious. It's contagious to the people you love and the people you work with, and it's a nice way to go through life.
It is. Well, I think it's a wonderful spot to end. Megan Bittle, Patrick Warren, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then, how did that go? I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Mr. Patrick Warren of Daltile and Megan Bittle of RSI Kitchen and Bath in St. Louis. Again, thank you to Daltile for sponsoring this episode, as well as FEI Group. They are the nation's largest and finest network of interior and exterior finish contractors and interior finish showrooms. If you are in the roofing, flooring, or kitchen and bath space, if you are not familiar with them, you need to visit feigroup.net. And if you are familiar with them, but not involved, it's probably worth another look. Again, that's feigroup.net. Now, our goal here is to make this the best podcast you listen to, so I'd love to hear your thoughts, ideas for future shows, or potential guests, or any sales fundamentals that you and your team are struggling with. Feel free to email me directly at bradley@behindyourbacksales.com. You can also link up with me on LinkedIn or connect with me on Instagram at BehindYourBackCEO. If you did find this episode valuable with Mr. Patrick Warren and Megan Bittle, please share it with your network and leave a review. Those mean more to us than you know. So as always, thank you for listening. We're going to close out with our leadership mantra. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value first.